Good morning, everybody. I'm Uncle Lenny, and this is Uncle Lenny Says. I want to remind you to like and subscribe to my channel. And in my last video, the title was, "What Does an Epileptic Look Like?" And I started to explain my life with controlled epilepsy. I've been controlled 20 years, no seizures. With medicine, and I want to continue that story. And also I had mentioned and started to show a gift that I made my son, okay, when he graduated Army training school. I used to belong to a group on Facebook for Army parents, and we all talked about things you could do for your kids when they graduate their Army training. And one of the things that we talked about was making a lantern. And so I went to Michael's. Michael's is a hobby store, and I bought the lantern, and then everything else I got on Amazon. Okay, I got the ribbon. It's an army ribbon. Has Army words all over it: brave, freedom, things like that. And then the lantern was totally blank. Okay, I added all the decals. Everything else, like I said, I got on Amazon. This decal, it's actually adhesive typing paper, transparent typing paper, and you can type whatever you want on there. And I typed the Soldier's Creed, and right there you can't really read it all, but you can see I typed out the whole Soldier's Creed. And then the next one decal was it says, "The Lord is on my side. I will not fear." Psalms 18:6. Okay. And then the other decal says, it's got his last name burst, and that's his platoon or battery or whatever they call it then. Night Stalkers. Okay. And then there's a soldier with the flag behind him and his gun. And there's the door again. Now, I want to get the inside. There's a candle, and which I also bought off of Amazon. And let's see if it lights up. Well, battery must be dead. It's not lighting up right now. But it lights up, and then I have his picture there. And like I said, I did that all on the computer on adhesive see-through paper, transparent paper. And it has his name and rank at the time when he joined. And United States Army. And then that's his battery or group, whatever they call it, platoon, I don't know. So, and then on the other side is his MO, or his job. He's, it's air defense, okay? That's the emblem for air defense. And then this is his battery, infantry unit. At Camp Casey, and that was in South Korea. Okay, that was his first duty after training camp. So and then underneath the lantern, I have a music box that I also bought off of Amazon, and then I the music box is actually inside the lantern. I drilled a hole and then mounted it, and then it plays "You Are My Sunshine," okay, which is a song I used to sing to him when he was a baby. And now I'm gonna have to put that in another room now until it stops. So now when he graduates his next, or he already graduated his, or passed his next level. He's a specialist, and his title is what is it? It's specialist promotable, which means he passed whatever he had to do to promote to the next level of his after specialist. So and to do that, one of the things he had to do was he had to memorize the non-commissioned officer's creed. So right now he's away, he's over in Europe, and when he comes home, he'll probably complete his training for to become a non-commissioned officer. He just can't do it while he's overseas, I guess. Then I'm gonna make him, do you ever hear of a shadow box? It's a box, you can get them however big you want. It's a wood box and has a glass door front, wood frame glass door front. And then you open it up, it can be a couple inches thick, and then you can put things inside. So I thought about typing out the non-commissioned officer's creed and putting that on the glass, and maybe getting a small candle for inside, or maybe the patch for his rank, just different things like that. I'd like to make, I think it's kind of special when you make something. So, like I said, I'm going to finish my story on my life experience with epilepsy, and if you haven't watched it, please watch my first video so that you can catch up to the rest of the story. So, one second. So in my last 2 years, so in my last video, I explained that when somebody says, you don't look like an epileptic, okay, I explained that when somebody thinks of an epileptic who's not educated in epilepsy and what to look for besides the actual seizure, or they think of somebody wearing a seizure helmet, okay, and not everybody wears a helmet, and the ones that do wear a helmet are ones that don't have warning signs of the oncoming seizure, and they just fall wherever they're at. They just fall, and if they're not wearing a helmet, they could crack their head and hurt themselves pretty badly. But a lot of people have the warning signs, which in my case it was an aura. It was like a flashing light, and it would go round, and then I would have so many minutes to lay down. I would lay down on my side so that I wouldn't aspirate or choke on my tongue. So I would tell somebody, whoever's with me, that I would be having a seizure. But like I said, I haven't had one for 20 years, thank God. And I've always had the warning signs when I did. So my second half of my story, it's in my last 2 years of high school, my father and Carol, my first stepmother, bought a home in another city, and I changed Christian schools. Okay, I went from Christian school from 5th grade on up through my graduation. Went between 2 different schools. Okay, and the first Christian school was just Bible based, and my second Christian school that I graduated from was Baptist. Okay, and when I turned 16, my father bought me my first car. During this time, I had fewer seizures, and the few I had mostly happened in the morning. Okay, and if I did have a seizure, of course I had to go, 6 months to a year without a seizure, whatever the requirement is of that state. In that case, it was Pennsylvania. So now growing up, you know, I had from 5 years old on, I've had stepmothers, and you know how some kids feel with stepmothers. You know, your mother is your mother, and the stepmother is, you know, people think of the wicked stepmother and Cinderella, but so I was young and still, you know, living with my parents, of course, my dad and my stepmother. And there was times that throughout my life, I would always want to be with my mom. And so my last year of high school, I moved to my mom's house for part of the school year, attending public school. While I was away, well, now let me tell you about that. When I was at my mom's, I went to high school out there. It was in the Poconos. That's in the Pennsylvania, on the borderline with New Jersey. And when you've gone to private school from 5th grade all the way up until high school, 12th grade, and then you decide to go to public school for a while, it's a total different shock. You know, it's a whole different world going from private school to public school, especially when you go in at such a late year, your senior year. So all my years from 5th to 12th, I was in private school, and then I go into public school for my senior year for a little while, until I decided to go back with my father. So while I was away at my mom's, my stepmother died. She had cancer, and I eventually decided to move back with my father. And my father remarried, and I eventually moved out again, because I didn't get along. My second stepmother, we didn't get along. So his marriage only lasted a couple years, if that. So the times that I had seizures, from that point on, I was alone. Or I lived with roommates. At that time, I lived in a trailer, and then if I was alone, I would sometimes try to walk to a nearby neighbor's house or somewhere to get help, and then I would end up falling off the steps or something, because you only have a certain amount of minutes from the time you have the aura to the time you actually go into the seizure. But I always tried to get help if I was alone. And usually a neighbor found me, and they would help me from that point on till I wake up, and then help me back inside. I used to work at a car wash in Pennsylvania, And during the summer days, it would be like, even in the winter times, there were days when it was really busy, especially after it snowed. I mean, we would have lines from one end of the building to the other end. And in the summertime, it would be really hot. And then like after it rained, people, same thing, and people have big lines to come in to get their car washed. So at that time, I didn't tell anyone that whenever I worked, I didn't tell anyone that I had seizures. And so because for one instance, I worked at a factory called Townsend's. It was a chicken plant, and I was on sanitation at night. All I was doing was cleaning, spraying down, foaming the machines and stuff like that. Well, they decided, I actually didn't get into the work, but that was what my job was supposed to be. They decided not to hire me when I told them that I had seizures. And then when I tried to get a statement from them, they didn't want to give me any kind of statement. So I just left it go, went on to the next job, and I forget what it was. I worked in a restaurant, I think. I used to work in a Rack's roast beef restaurant. I don't know if any of you remember the Rack's roast beef. And it's kind of like Arby's. But so when I was at the car wash, I didn't tell my boss at that time that I had seizure conditions. And I had a seizure at work, and I wasn't awake, of course. And then they ambulanced me to the nearest hospital, okay? And from there, they life flighted me in a helicopter to the nearest trauma hospital, okay? Because they were not sure what was going on with me. And I think somebody from the first hospital called my family and told them what was happening. And they, my dad and my stepmother, my mother even came she traveled almost 2 hours to come to see me in the hospital. And my father was there, and I remember seeing my second stepmother there, which was, to wake up and see her, I was just like, she's not the first person I wanted to see when I woke up. So they, I believe my father questioned them that, why I think I was strapped down too. And they said that I was strapped down to the bed, and I think they said that I was being combative. And I was also feeling pretty good because they had me on Valium. And whenever somebody wakes up out of a seizure, this is my case. I know some people are the same, but some may cry, and because you're just coming out of the seizure, you're not sure what happened, you're scared of where you might be, so you don't want people tying you down. You want somebody to assure you that it's okay. You're okay. I'm here. So if you ever experience somebody with a seizure, don't try to hold them down. Don't. You can call the 911 and get the emergency people there if you feel. But most times when the emergency people come, like in my case, they if I was coming out of the seizure, by the time they get me in the ambulance, I'm pretty well awake, and a couple times I've signed myself out. They let you sign a paper which releases them from responsibility, and then they let you walk away. So if you experience somebody having a seizure, just put a pillow or something soft around them. Don't try to hold them down. Just protect them from hurting themselves. And in my case, like I said, I lay down because I know it's coming, and I lay on my side so I don't aspirate. If you can, without hurting yourself or the person, it's good to have them on their side so they don't aspirate. So, so I had to, so I woke up in the next hospital, and my parents came and got me and took me home. And let's see, they told me that, yeah, they told me that I was being combative. And if you ever experience someone with a seizure, like I said, all you have to do is put pillows around them and keep them from hurting themselves, you know. But don't try to restrict their movement or hold them down. That's wrong. Just assure them that everything is okay. And if you did call the ambulance, you know, let them take over, of course. But you can stay there, but just stay in the background. Let the EMTs do their work, and then the person, when they wake up, it's between them and the medics whether they go to the hospital, okay, or if they sign themselves out, okay. So after I turned 21, I started drinking, okay. Then I had seizures more often, and then I would try to not take my medicine on the nights that I went out drinking, thinking maybe, yeah, I could get away with it. After enough was enough with having seizures, I finally stopped drinking because the alcohol was affecting my medicine. Over the years, growing up with seizures, oftentimes I would go through the poor me's. You know, poor me, you know, why is this happening to me? Why did God let this happen to me? You know, why couldn't I be normal? You know, and my father used to tell me, you know, don't do that. Try to be positive. Try to, you know, instead of doing the poor me, just try to, you know, how can you turn this into something, you know, that's not good, but something, you know, just don't, you know, something positive. So, I had the poor me's, and why is God allowing this to happen to me? I even consulted with my doctor about brain surgery, but the doctor told me that I wasn't a good candidate because I didn't have seizures often enough. Okay, somebody that has brain surgery, they usually have a lot more seizures than I do. They don't, or than I did. They don't have warning signs, and so they're a better candidate than I would be for that operation. So, and I'm not sure if all the operations were the same, but the one was called split brain surgery, and that's where they split some of, I believe they split some of the nerves in between the two hemispheres of the brain, and that keeps the seizure from traveling throughout the whole brain. So, and therefore, I guess it can keep you from having seizures sometimes. Like I said, everybody's different, and everybody's affected different. So I was not a candidate because I didn't have them enough. And so I finally developed a better attitude over the years in how to deal with my seizures. I try to be positive, and I also admired some evangelists. You know, since I grew up in Christian school and church, went to church 3 times a week, I started following a lady named Johnny Erickson, and her last name is Johnny Erickson Tada now. T-A-D-A. She was paralyzed from the neck down back in 1967. That's from the year I was born. So she's been paralyzed for 57 years now. And she went through all the same feelings that everybody else has with having a disability. You know, why me? Why this? Why this? Why this? You know. And she turned her life around, and she is now an evangelist. And if you like to follow inspirational people and evangelists, you know, look up Johnny, that's Joni, Johnny Erickson Tada. And another one that I follow, and Johnny was she did some music, I believe, and or singing anyways. And then she also painted. She would have a toothbrush in her mouth and she painted some things. So very talented woman. And it's inspirational to see somebody like that who's paralyzed, totally paralyzed, and uses her life to help others, you know. But another thing I'd say is sometimes, this doesn't apply to everybody, but sometimes whenever you think you have it so bad, sometimes there might be somebody worse than you, somebody worse off than you, if you look around hard enough. And you might be a good influence on their life, okay? You might give them some kind of hope to keep going, you know, and maybe they can be an inspiration to somebody else, you know, and so on. But another evangelist I follow is, his name is Nick Javicic. He is another evangelist, and I believe he's from Australia, but he's around in the United States now. And he was born without legs and without arms, totally limbless, okay? And he just has one little foot, and the doctors told him, first of all, they didn't know that he was going to be limbless. And when he was born, it was like a surprise to everybody. And then they told him he wouldn't walk and he wouldn't have any quality of life and all that. And he's walking. He walks around like, you know, and he walks, and he's got four kids with his wife. And he goes around all over the world and does evangelist shows. And he just recently, this year, was in Florida here, and we went to see him with there was also other evangelists there. But I've always liked him. I've always wanted to see him, and I went to see him in that show. And just to see somebody like that, I mean, you know, everybody's different with seizures and stuff, but I always think, you know, if I had to have seizures or I had to be paralyzed, you know, it's everybody's, like I said, everybody's different. So, but he chooses to. He even tried to commit suicide when he was a child because he thought he was a burden to his parents. He tried to drown himself in the tub, but he didn't. He wasn't successful, and I don't know what. I forget whether he said he thought about it and changed his mind, or if they found him. I don't remember. But anyhow, he is an awesome speaker. And like I said, he has children, he has a wife, so he has a decent life. And I myself, I'm on Facebook and I'm in an epilepsy group, and I try to interact with people. And even though everybody's different, and I can't say, well, this worked for me, I take this medicine, and but my biggest point is with somebody is, instead of thinking, well, first of all, if you're suicidal, you should get help, professional help. But in the end, you want to try to think, what can I do to help somebody else in my situation or worse? What can I do to give them a sense of life, and how they can be helpful to somebody else? And I always tell them, look for somebody who's worse off than you and try to be a mentor for them. Okay? And because there is, a lot of times, no matter how bad you think you have it, there might be somebody who's a little worse off and who could use your guidance or your words of, even just to be a friend, So, like I said, I have finally developed a better attitude, and I admire the evangelists and somebody, who takes a positive and takes a negative situation and makes it positive. And sometime before I married my first wife, I have two wives. The first one divorced, and I was dating another different girl before I got married, and she was a nursing student. She was a student to become an RN, and she still lived with her parents. I went to the prom with her, and I was a couple years older than her, but after dating this girl, maybe for 2 years, we talked about getting married, and someday, we got engaged. Okay, hold on. My coffee's getting cold. So one time I took her to the fair. I forget what fair it was. I think it might have been the Bloomsburg Fair. And I started having the aura. Okay. Now my first instinct when I have an oncoming seizure is to find somewhere quiet, out of the, where nobody can see me, and especially if I have help, and I don't want to just be out in the middle of everybody and go into it. So we went behind some tents at the fair, and I went through the seizure while she was there with me, and afterwards, we were leaving, and she was like very cold to me, like wouldn't talk to me. It scared her because that's the first time she saw that. It was a grand mal, or tonic-clonic as it's also called, and she couldn't say "I love you" from that day for a couple days on. And I just told her, I said, you are an RN student. You're about to be a nurse, a professional nurse. And I said, you're going to see a lot worse things than a seizure. So, I said, you're still living at home. You need to take your time and experience some life, and then eventually move out of your parents' house, and then start your own life. I said, but as far as me, I'm ready to get married. I've completed everything up until that point, in my life. So I'm ready to get married and settle down. So we broke up, and I don't think I've ever seen her after that. And we were friends on Facebook for a while, but eventually I stopped. I think I blocked her because we were just not at that point where we could be friends. So I apologized to her, and I said, she wasn't ready and I was ready. I just started talking to my first wife online. We weren't talking anything serious. We were just friends. And but after that, in 1999, I married my first wife. Okay, she was from Colombia, South America, and we had my son. Okay, I only had one child with her, and she did have a miscarriage, but after him. But we both worked in mental health at that time, and my wife worked at that time. She worked in a group home, and I worked in a group home, and with people with mental retardation. And they had I would make breakfast for them and then take them to work. Okay, the work was this big factory at that time. It was called Suncom, I believe, Suncom Industries. And they would go to this factory and do different things. I'm not sure specifically what, but that was their day program where they would go every day. Now I have a picture here of my son when he was a baby. That's me. And if you go to Google Blogs, I have this story, and the pictures are there too, in color. But if you look on my YouTube channel, the address is there somewhere in the description, in my description. The address for my blog. So So when I worked at this one place I worked at, it was a mental house, apartment house. I know this wasn't an apartment house. This was a whole house where everybody they had like bedrooms, okay. And then they would come down and we would make them meals. And then they had a living room where they all gathered. But there was one guy who had grand mal seizures, and he had a seizure helmet. And he would just fall to the ground, and I would just sit there with him and, be there to comfort him when he got out of the seizure. Like I said, it's okay. It's okay. You're awake. You just had a seizure, but you're okay now, And you just have to be, helpful with somebody like that because they're scared. Okay. So before we left Pennsylvania for Florida, my first wife and I became nurses' aides. And then we transferred the certifications to Florida. And then my first job in Florida was for hospice. At that time it was Shell Point. It was a retirement community. And I worked in the hospice unit of their community. And so I was married to my first wife for 12 years. And I only had a couple seizures with her because I wasn't drinking. And at that time I was taking Dilantin, okay? And with Dilantin, some medications, and it doesn't happen to everybody, but they make your gums grow. So when I was in high school, I had to get my gums cut. Um, so I was married to her for 12 years, and my father eventually moved down to Florida, and he lived with us also until he died. In 2005, I took my son to the playground. He was 3, maybe 4. Nah, he was like 5, I think, at that time. And he had a bike. We had a little bike, and I took him to the playground. And my ex-wife was still, his mom was still in the apartment. And so we walked to the playground, and he was playing on the swings, I think. And we left his bicycle on the side there. And then I started having an aura. So there I am all alone with my son, and I'm starting to have the aura for the seizure. Okay. And then I pick him up, I left his bike there, and I just started running, okay, with him in my arms. And the first person I saw, it was only around the corner from where we lived, but the first person in the first apartment I saw, I said, I'm like talking real fast, I'm like, my name's Len Burris, this is my son, I live around the corner, I'm about to go into a seizure, and please go get my wife, take my son to my wife. And then that's the last thing I remember. And I don't even think I had time to lay down, and they didn't know what to do to keep me safe, I guess. So I woke up sometime later in the hospital. I think I was in the ICU, intensive care unit. And let's see. So needless to say, we lost his bike. Somebody stole it. And didn't have time to lay down. So I aspirated, and then woke up in the ICU, and that was the day I met my new neurologist, and he took me off of Dilantin, and he put me on carbamazepine, which is Tegretol. Carbamazepine is the generic for Tegretol, and it's still expensive, but it's like over $100 a month for 1 month supply, I think. But the doctor, he also had me go 1 year without driving, and he said, on my honor, which means he trusted me. He just quoted me the law of Florida for not driving after a seizure, for not driving so long. So I honestly did. I went 1 year without seizures, okay. And in fact, I went more. Like I said, since that last time in 2005, the last seizure I had, I've now been seizure-free on medication, same medication, for 20 years. Thank God. And I try to always be religious. Like I said, I was raised Baptist. I'm now non-denominational. Go to a Christian Bible church. Doesn't make me any better than the next guy, I'm just saying. But I give credit where credit is due, and I thank God for the doctors, the medication, and keeping me seizure-free for 20 years. So that's why I'm in the Facebook group for epilepsy, and I talk there once in a while. I mean, try to give some positive thoughts. And everybody's different, so what helped you may not help the other person, okay? But the other thing I kept thinking I wanted to write a book, but I don't think my story is, I mean, unless I went into like a lot of details, would be long enough for a book. And not to mention, I've forgotten a lot of things through the years. I don't know whether that's just growing up, age, or part of my seizures. But I have a lot of spots in my life that I've forgotten. So so that was the last time I had a seizure, was in 2005. And then after my son graduated high school, he enlisted in the Army as 14G, which is anti-aircraft defense. And growing up, I've always wanted to join the service. At that time, I think I was thinking Navy or Air Force. My brother was in the Navy. And so I was thinking Navy or Air Force. And but I couldn't, obviously, because of the epilepsy. You have to be seizure-free without medication for, I think it was a year, or 5 years, I don't remember, in order to join the armed services. And I'm just like, can't I even work in the office? You know, I understand I can't go out in the battlefield, you know, it's a risk, but I wanted to be in the service. I wanted to serve my country. I'm very, you know, what do you call it? You know, I love my country, love my flag, love, you know, all that. Patriotic. So there's another picture of my son, which you've already seen, but like I said, and if you go to my blog, which is linked on YouTube, all my whole story is here, and my pictures are in color. But so he's in the Army now. He just completed 4 years. He just re-enlisted for 6 years. So I told him, I said, if you can manage to stay out of wars, hopefully, I said, you can retire in 20 years, minus what you've already served. But I said that would be, you know, a good retirement. Be done working in 20 years as far as, you know, I mean, you could still do side jobs or whatever. He says he wants to work for Florida Wildlife when he gets out. But that could change, you know, you never know. I mean, whatever he does, I'd be proud. When he was growing up, he wanted to be a marine biologist, you know. He loved sea life, and, you know, and we always encouraged him whatever he wanted to be, you know. So there was a time when I was in Naples Walmart, and I noticed a woman having a seizure, and none of the staff would sit with her while she was going through the seizure. They called the ambulance, and you know, I guess they just made sure she was safe. And I believe it was in the pharmacy area, if I remember right. But people, you know, go back and forth, and, you know, she was there. And I ended up sitting with her. I saw her, and I ended up sitting with her until the paramedics came, because I was an epileptic. I'm an epileptic. I know how she feels, and you know, I know how I would feel if I was in her situation there. So I knew I would, you know, it would probably help her, comfort her, to have somebody just sit with her and make sure she's okay. And just like I said, just reassure her that, you know, you're okay now. I'm here. They called the paramedics. You can, you know, you'll be all right. So we talked. We became friends on Facebook, and we, you know, I mean, we're not friends, but we're friends on Facebook. So I guess you would call that acquaintances. So the EMTs arrived. They took her out to the ambulance, and she signed, like I said, you could sign a waiver to release them from responsibility, and then you could walk away and call somebody for a ride or whatever. But she came back inside the Walmart, and she thanked me, and she gave me a hug for helping her. And it's like I said, every time you think you have it bad, try to find somebody worse that you can help. Okay? I know it is bad. I know your situation more than likely is bad. But there might be somebody a little worse off than you. Even, just try to be there. Try to be a friend. Try to just comfort them in their, situation. Don't think that, there's nothing you can do, Just lending an ear, can be a help sometimes. So, in 2018, and let's back up a little bit. So I divorced my first wife after 12 years, and eventually she got remarried. Nice guy, and we went. For the most part, we've had a pretty civil life. My son was able to go back and forth between our houses. We lived 15 minutes away from each other. And she didn't do the child support thing through the courts. We had a thing where before school started, she would ask me, we went shopping, and we would get whatever he needed, and I would chip in my half. And then throughout his life, we did the same thing. Whenever she needed money, she would ask me for it, and I would give it to her for him. So, and there's times where, you wish you had more time with your child. We had every other weekend, I believe it was, and then I don't know if it was every weekend or every other weekend, but and like I said, I was 15 minutes away, so even if I wanted to take him out to eat or something during the week, it was okay. So, he was fortunate, and we didn't, once in a while we had little disagreements, but we got over it. Today we're friends. We even though he's away in the Army, once in a while. The last time, I think, the last time when my mother died, they came and gave me condolences, just sorry for your loss and everything. And then the one time I went out, they got a new TV, and I went out and helped them hook it up because I'm more techie in those situations. I know what to do. So we had that kind of a relationship where we were, civil. So in 2014, no, yeah, I don't know, it was 2016, okay, hold on. 2016, I met my wife now. She's from the Philippines. And I went over to the Philippines 2 times to see her. That was in end of 2016, 2017, somewhere around there, in there. But so I went over there twice, and then I met her family, and we did different things over there. She took me sightseeing and different things, and then I asked her to, after my last time there in 2017, I asked her to marry me. In fact, I brought her a ring, and then we were also dating online through video and text. So we were constantly every day talking. And it was funny because back then, and I think it was with my first wife, my family were like, oh, she's a terrorist. She only wants to come to the United States for a green card, you know. And so I was now on my second wife, who's also a legal immigrant. And she came over. And so she came over, well, first we tried a visitor's visa. That didn't go through. Because when you go for a visa, you have to have a reason to go back. Like when you go for your interview, they interview you and they want to see what bank accounts you have, what property you might own, family. They want to know that you have a reason or something to return to their country for. They don't want you just going to the United States and hiding like everybody else is right now. And then, so she was denied that visitor's visa. And then I went through Visa Harmony, and I couldn't do it. They couldn't help me because at that time, her ex had left her. And he sent her divorce papers from the United States. So that was actually my ticket, which made the whole thing fall into place. So I went to a lawyer, immigration lawyer, and asked him what I could do and everything. I showed him, I have all our chat history saved and all that, everything. And pictures and everything to prove that this was a legitimate relationship. So he said that since her ex-husband sent her the divorce papers from the United States, she is legally divorced in the United States. So that was what made it, the whole immigration thing, legal for her to come over, okay? And everything was finished and ready to go, and she came over in 2018, and we got married. And before we got married, one other thing before we got married, we got each other's name tattooed on our heart. Okay, I have a couple tattoos, and she says, this is my first and last one. So she got one too, my name. So now we've been married 6 years, and you know, we're good, we're happy. And she has 2 daughters. I have 2 stepdaughters in the Philippines, and I have a step-grandson. And I can't wait to go back to see them someday. Because like I said, I haven't been back there since 2017. Yeah. So I'm anxious to get back there and see them. And let me see where so my wife and I are both nurse's aides. Oh, well, I'm not a nurse's aide anymore. I'm a home caregiver. And I have a patient. I work with him 3 12-hour days a week. So this is a picture of my wife and I when we were on a cruise, and then this is our 2 daughters in the Philippines. Okay. So I've had a good life, you know, and I'm very happy with my work. My patients' families are happy with me, and it's just you know, ask myself, whenever I go to work or do what I do, I'm just like, what would I want? What kind of caregiver would I want when I need a caregiver someday? You know, and I try to be as helpful as I would want somebody to be with me. So I have a very good reputation, and you know, like I said, my patients love me. So again, life is what you make it. And you can either live in self-pity and sorrow, or you can try to make the best of what you got. Okay? Try and find somebody or someone or something to change your focus in life. In my case, I have the two evangelists with the disabilities, and they choose to use their disabilities for good instead of wallowing in self-pity. Try to find someone in a worse situation than you. Then maybe you will experience a little gratitude or be able to refocus on things. Sometimes, no matter how bad or how hard we think we have life is, how our life is, if you look hard enough, you may find someone worse off than you. They might even have a better outlook on life. Refocus and find some gratitude. And that's the end of my story. Again, so again, just to recap, finish my story. The term or the question, what does an epileptic look like? Okay, that is what an epileptic asks somebody who says you don't look like an epileptic. Okay, if you think you know what an epileptic looks like, educate yourself and look and read a little bit about epilepsy and different types of epilepsy, and answer that question for yourself. What does an epileptic look like? Okay. Because if you just assume that all epileptics wear helmets, if somebody's not in a fragile moment, they might be offended by you thinking, that they're supposed to be wearing a helmet. And there's a lot of high-functioning people that have epilepsy. In my first video, I said, and I read off a bunch of names, there's a lot of stars, professional Hollywood stars and singers and sports people that have epilepsy. So Google professionals or stars, that have epilepsy, and you'll see the whole list of people. For instance, Danny Glover from Lethal Weapon. I'm just going to name him for now. You can find the rest. So please subscribe and like my video, my channel, and I will be making different videos throughout the time. And again, have yourself a Merry Christmas. Spend time with your family. Keep politics out of the holidays. And, just enjoy yourself. God bless.